Hey everyone, Wes here for Family Gamer TV with our armchair guide to the games to look out for in 2016. There are tons and tons of games coming out this year, and we wanted to narrow that down a bit for you. These games will be AAA games and indie games, puzzle games, platform games and shooters. It doesn't matter what it is. If it looks interesting, we've got it on the list. So let's not beat about the bush, let's take a look at the games. We'll start with a game called 12 Minutes. Now, this game, you're doomed to live the same 12 minutes inside your apartment unless you use your knowledge of what's going to happen to change the outcome and break the loop. It's coming to Xbox One, PlayStation 4, Windows and Mac. I just like this idea. It's like the whole kind of sci-fi element to it, something that I've not seen done before. Yeah, I can really see myself getting behind this. Next up, Abzû. Now, this is a PlayStation 4 and Windows title. It's a stylized swimming diving simulator with an emphasis on exploring peaceful human interactions with aquatic animals. Now, this reminds me of a game that came out on the Wii. Its name's completely gone off my top of my head, but it's kind of relaxing game where you just sit back, chill out, and just swim and interact with the environment. There's not that many games like that around. Next up is Adrift. I imagine this is going to be a far more tense affair. It's played from the first person. You take control of Commander Alex Oshima, and you're floating and moving in any direction in space in an open environment, zero G of course, and you have to survive by managing your oxygen and completing puzzles and return to Earth. So there's like, you're in this kind of devastated kind of spaceship type environment, trying to work out what's going on. It's coming to Xbox One and PlayStation 4 and Windows, and I'm very, very excited about this one. Now, Allison Road is a first-person survival horror game. It's got gameplay similar to PT. Remember that kind of demo that was supposed to set up Silent Hills that got canned? Loads of controversy about that. This is going to have that kind of minimal storyline again. The player's got to solve, kind of limited environment. Coming to Xbox One, PlayStation 4, Windows, Mac, and Linux. Ark Survival Evolved is an action-adventure survival game. It uses first-person perspective and the ability to use third-person in some instances. You've got to survive, establish your base with fire and weapons, and all manner of other activities to do, such as taming and feeding dinosaurs, and of course you've got to gather resources and all that kind of stuff. Xbox One, PlayStation 4, Windows, Mac and Linux. And I think this is already kind of out, isn't it? Like a trial mode on Xbox, so you can check that out now. Astroneer is all about exploring and exploiting distant worlds. This has a cool looking art style, and I don't know, it's a game of aerospace industry and interplanetary exploration. There's a few of those about, but this one just does have that kind of different vibe to it, I think. So look out for that if you like those kind of games. Next up, this one's sure to be a smash. This is Batman, a Telltale Games series. So, following on from the likes of The Walking Dead, Game of Thrones, Borderlands, now Telltale are trying their hand at Batman, and I can't think of a game that would excite me more than a narrative-driven Batman game. So, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, Windows, mobile devices, this will be everywhere, just like all those Telltale games are. Now, next up is Battleborn. Now, this is a first-person shooter. It's got multiplayer online battle arena elements, but unlike other FPS games, the quests and game modes of the game were designed to be a feature, a format and structure similar to multiplayer online battle arena games. So, trying to differentiate itself a little bit because, you know, there's plenty of online multiplayer games, plenty of online first-person shooters. This is coming to Xbox One, PlayStation 4 and Windows. And I should say, you know, some of these platform lists that we give out for some of these games, not necessarily going to be accurate or final. These are all early days on this. This is only the information we have right now. So, you know, if some of this seems out of date or incorrect, you just have to go with what's out there. Now, this is a big one. This is an Xbox exclusive. So this is Below, which is an adventure game that's viewed from a top-down perspective, and a player character is a tiny little warrior exploring the depths of a remote island. Indie game about exploration, and the goal is of exploring is obviously contingent on you surviving. That's a key element to this. Also coming to Windows. great looking art style, great looking game. Very, very excited. Lots of hype for this. Block Hood is a neighborhood building simulator, and it celebrates the diversity and experimentation of cities. So you'll have full access to 80 plus building blocks to combine and create unique neighborhoods and discover the hidden inhabitants of each combination. I like the idea of building stuff and revealing things, and this looks gorgeous. It's got a very simple art style, but beautiful. And I dig this idea of just like building these cities with blocks rather than the standard kind of Sim City type of thing. This looks really unique. Now this one's all about explosive online multiplayer action. This is Bombernauts. It's a multiplayer battle game, fully destructible voxel terrain. You can throw bombs left, right and centre to blow your robot friends off the world and into the deadly lava below, where they're likely to die a very fiery death. Coming to Windows, Mac and Linux. Kind of Bomberman-esque, I guess. If you remember those games, if you like those games, this is for you. A big AAA title that's bound to land this year, although we don't have details yet. The next Call of Duty, possibly Modern Warfare 4, or maybe they'll eventually now go back to World War II or do something entirely different. Who knows? I think it's Infinity Ward behind this one this year, but you know, it's a first-person shooter with single and multiplayer components coming to all the big platforms, you know, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, Windows, and more probably as well. Check-in Knockout is a game where you and other hotel guests are double booked. What you gonna do? Well, you decide to settle it with an old-fashioned brawl in a hotel room. You can pick up anything you can find in a hotel and throw it at your friends to knock them out. Very, very basic, old-school graphics, but kind of has that, I don't know, it looks very Smash Brothers to me, but kind of toned down, stripped back, and looks a load of fun. Next up is Courier of Crypts, which is a 2D action-adventure game where you have to survive as a courier on his first errand to the ominous crypts. Your main tool to achieve this mission is a magic torch, which you use to illuminate your path and defend from evil spirits to solve puzzles. This is coming to Windows now. The game looks like, how can I describe it? Again, very simple old school graphics, but has a lot of charm to it as well. If you like kind of 2D action adventure games, you know, exploring dungeons and stuff, this is going to be right up your street. Oh, looks like I missed one out, so rewind a little. Cogmind, which is a very bizarre looking game that seems like it's designed in ASCII art. It's a sci-fi tactical combat and exploration game in a procedural world. It combines traditional roguelike kind of gameplay with an immersive modern interface like no other. Well, yes, definitely like no other. I wouldn't say modern though. I'm not quite sure what it is, but intriguing. So discover what that means as you explore a living, breathing world ruled by robots. Coming to Windows. Very, very different and very unique. Big Xbox exclusive now. This is Crackdown 3. Sandbox, third-person shooter, which takes place in a fictional metropolis. All about big powers, big guns, loads of action. If you're a fan of the first two games, or if you've not played a Crackdown game, I think you're going to enjoy this. Get on it when it releases later this year. Next is Cryptark, which is a 2D sci-fi roguelike shooter, and you take the role of a heavily armed privateer seeking to earn government contracts by boarding deadly alien space hulks. It's up to you to strategize a plan of attack and pick an equipment loadout and destroy the central core to be victorious. And this has graphics that kind of remind me of, I don't know, the SNES era, and it's coming to Windows. I don't think that this is particularly my type of game, but it's got some buzz, and I think if you like a roguelike game, especially if you like the kind of space sci-fi theme, you're going to enjoy this. Next up is one that has a lot of buzz. Now this is Cuphead. If you've not seen this game, the screenshot here I think gives you a slight sample. You know, it's got a very cartoon vibe, almost old school Disney. It's a run and gun game though, where the player loses a bet with the devil and you spend the rest of the game attempting to repay that debt. The game's got branching level sequences and it's based around continuous boss fights, as you can kind of see, coming to Xbox One and Windows. Next on the list is Darkest Dungeon, and I think you'll agree that this has got a very interesting look to it. It's a gothic style, again another roguelike, but turn-based RPG with, you know, psychological stresses involved. You know, as you know, when you go adventuring, you don't really think about those things in games. You just wander off into the environment, kill things and stuff. This is more playing on your mind a bit. You've got to recruit, train and lead a team of very flawed heroes against unimaginable horrors, stress, famine, disease and ever-impending doom. Now, if that's not going to mess you up in the head, I don't know what is. Very, very intrigued by this game coming to Windows. Now, if you like a challenge in a game, they don't come much more challenging than the Dark Souls series, and we're now gonna get Dark Souls 3 this year. Action role-playing game, third person. It's all about exploration, but also in doing that, learning about the environment and the creatures you have to face in order to beat them. And you know, these games are tough because you really do have to think and study and learn and evolve as a player in them. It's coming to Xbox One, PlayStation 4 and Windows at the very least. Dead Island 2. Now, do you remember Dead Island, the one with the great trailer? Survival horror video game, zombies. This time though, set in Los Angeles, San Francisco. Not Los Angeles, San Francisco. Los Angeles and San Francisco. And an undisclosed third location in California. Now the game has new combat mechanics, a rage system and an updated crafting system, and it's coming to Xbox One, PlayStation 4 and Windows. Next we've got Dead Realm. Ghosts prey on the living inside a haunted mansion of a long dead electricity tycoon. Now, it's a creepy multiplayer action game with beautiful immersive environments, at least that's what we're told, and if you look at the screenshot, this looks great. You can play as either a ghost or a human and work with your friends to run, hide, survive or die. Expect great creepiness in this. Coming to Windows. Now, if you liked the games Heavy Rain or Beyond Two Souls, the creators of those games have got a new game coming called Detroit Become Human, which is a sci-fi game about an android named Kara who escapes the factory she was made in to explore her newfound sentience. This is all going to be very story driven, choice driven, just like Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls, and I think it looks visually stunning. Hopefully it's going to really mess with our heads a bit as well, and play on our emotions. Another sci-fi game, very different style though, Deus Ex Mankind Divided. Cyberpunk themed, role-playing action video game, and you know, this combines first-person shooter, stealth and role-playing elements. Set in 2029, this time in Prague, which has me particularly interested because I love that city. Proposed to my wife there, so very keen to see what a future Prague looks like, and it's set 2 years after the events of the previous game, Human Revolution. This is coming to Xbox One, PlayStation 4, Windows and possibly more. Another big AAA title, following on from the original, which was a success on 360 and PS3 and had a HD remake. This is Dishonored 2, action-adventure stealth role-playing video game. You can play as Emily Coldwin or Corvo Atano. Now in this, Coldwin has been dethroned by an otherworldly usurper and becomes an outlaw to society. The princess has to reclaim your title and restore power that's been lost. Big sequel here. First game, massive success. Hopefully this one will do well too. Xbox One, PlayStation 4 and Windows. Alright, one of the big Toys to Life games. We know we're going to get more Disney Infinity this year. We're going to get some extra playsets and stuff for Disney Infinity 3.0. We've got Marvel Battlegrounds coming. We've got Ant-Man, Vision, Black Panther, Baloo. But there's more coming for 3.0, and we expect 4.0 or something else from Disney Infinity to land this year. Will we get more Disney originals, Star Wars, Marvel? What we're going to get? It'll be on every platform under the sun, because they are. Next up on the list is Divinity Original Sin 2, which is a sequel to the original. It's a role-playing game, and in this one, all sorcerers have been declared to be criminals. So, a group of 4 band together on a quest to defeat the person responsible. This is coming to Windows. Now, a classic brand from yesteryear is coming back. This is Doom, the, well-known, well-respected first-person shooter. It's going to feature big old demons, huge guns. It's going to be super, super fast, and it's basically going to stay true to its roots. You're going to have single-player, multiplayer components, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, Windows, and probably more. Now, one for the PlayStation 4 and 3DS. Bit of a weird combo, that. Dragon Quest XI in Search of Departed Time. So, a role-playing game with turn-based combat. You control a hero. And you have to save the land from peril. Pretty standard stuff, but it looks great, and I think if you're a fan of this series of games, this one is going to be right up there with the best. Drifter. Now this is an open world sandbox space trading game with a procedurally generated galaxy. Now this seems to be all the rage at the minute. You can't make a universe in code because it would take you forever. So procedurally generate it, and this is just one of a few games that are doing that. This one's universe is going to be 100,000 light years across. You have tens of thousands of star systems to explore, and it's on PlayStation 4, Vita, and Windows. Now this game has a very distinct art style. This is due process, very basic, but don't let that put you off. This is a strictly multiplayer game, and it focuses on co-op, tactics and planning. You've got 2 minutes at the start of a round to draw up a plan, kind of like you do in John Madden, making the use of tools like breaching charges, riot shields, night vision goggles to coordinate the perfect assault. So graphically, not that important, it's the strategy that's important, and the defenders that you're against have to try and anticipate and foil your plans. So at the end of that, the strategies collide, and it's a bloody gunfight that ends in the blink of an eye. So this is for Windows. Now, not to be confused with Dark Souls, this is Dungeon Souls, an action-adventure roguelike dungeon crawler which draws heavy inspiration from Nuclear Throne, Risk of Rain, and Overture. And check those games out if you haven't, because they're going to inform you as to whether you like this one. In this, you'll explore vast, procedurally generated dungeons, there's that word again, collect loot, and slay hordes of challenging enemies. Procedurally generated stuff is the way to go if you're a small indie developer trying to make big games. This is on Windows. So next up we've got Duskers. Now, we've had quite a few RPG based games. We've not had a game where you pilot drones and derelict spaceships to find the means to survive and piece together how the universe has become a giant graveyard. You won't see a game that looks like this on this list. This is a very unique game and a very unique idea, I think, and for that reason you need to pay close attention. Very intrigued by this. Next up, Endless Space 2, a turn-based space strategy by Amplitude Studios. Now this launches players into the space colonization age of different civilizations within an endless universe, and it's all about your vision. So graphically looks great. You're going to have a whole space to play around in, loads of strategy involved. That's your thing, Endless Space 2 is right up there for you. Of course, the flip side to kind of turn-based space strategy is more tactical combat, and here we've got a third-person game in Enemy Starfighter, which also has first-person cockpit gameplay to create an intense, one-of-a-kind experience. You lead your fleet through randomly generated battles, each testing your ability to think, fight, and be ruthless. Now, I love a bit of dogfighting in space. This has me very, very interested. It's coming to Windows. I just need a better computer. Next up, Ernesto. So in this, you have to survive deadly dungeons, solve riddles, and grow strong to slay the dragon that's terrorizing the land. It's a game about drawing and adventure through traps, treasure, and magic, coming to Windows, Mac, iOS, and Android. Looking at it, I don't know, something about it reminds me of Nightmare, the old kids' TV program. I don't know why, but it looks interesting, so keep an eye on Ernesto. Okay, another big name, Fable is back. This time it's Fable Legends, and it's also free to play. So it's a co-op action role-playing game where you have 4 heroes and a villain, and each role may be played by a player or an AI, and you will get the same experience regardless of who is playing what. Now, all of the game's story and quests can be played single player or multiplayer as either one of those heroes or the villain. Obviously, the style of game that you get is different depending on who you are. That's an Xbox One exclusive, also coming to Windows. Now, this one has a lot of people excited. Far Cry 4 was a very popular game, and it's being followed up with a game called Far Cry Primal. So this time, similar style of gameplay, it's all first person, action adventure stuff, and it's set in prehistoric times. So you've lost the traditional gunplay and vehicle gameplay, and now you've got melee weapons, spears, clubs, axes, and things like bows, and you have to make them yourselves using the materials you scavenge. The screenshot looks great, and I think this is going to be a big hit this year. Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and Windows. Of course, no gaming year would be complete without a FIFA, and this year obviously it'll be FIFA 17. Last year's FIFA 16 introduced the women's game and improved defences, and it's likely that FIFA 17 will continue to expand its roster and tweak that gameplay to give you just enough reason to buy another copy. That's going to Xbox One, PlayStation 4 and Windows. Now, of course, you can't avoid this gaming title. It's a big mega brand, and that's Final Fantasy. And this time we're up to Final Fantasy 15. Visually stunning action role-playing game. Characters have the ability to traverse the environment in a free-running style now, extending to the battle with larger enemies, set in a world similar to modern-day Earth, and players have got to combat the Plague of the Stars, a supernatural phenomenon that threatens to plunge the world into eternal darkness. Every time I see a Final Fantasy game, I want to play it. I don't know if I've got the time. This looks great. Another big entry for the 3DS, this time Fire Emblem Fates. So an army of knights, mages and archers and more at your command in the most tactical battles in the series' history. Each unit and weapon will have strengths and weaknesses, and you must consider that before you fight any foe. Partner allies on the battlefield so they can support each other in combat and build relationships. The closer allies become, the better they'll fight together. Now, this game, Firewatch, is creating a bit of buzz in the media. It's a very interesting premise. So, first-person adventure game set in the Wyoming wilderness in 1989. Now, you take the role of a fire lookout. Can you think of any other game you've done that in? No, me neither. And you're assigned to your own tower in the forest. Now, through exploration, you'll uncover clues about mysterious occurrences in the vicinity that are related to a ransacking of your tower while you're out on a routine patrol. And there's also a shadowy figure that occasionally appears that's watching you. So a lot of mystery there, out in the woods, visually stunning game with a unique twist, I think. So another game that's taking a play out of Madden's playbook, and that's Flamberge, a tactical RPG that features free movement and simultaneous turns. So players plan out their moves, again, like Madden style, and then execute them at the same time. For Honor couldn't be more different. It's a competitive third-person melee fighting game, mixing speed, strategy and team play with the visceral close-range combat in multiplayer action. You experience the chaos, fury and brutality of battle, where you and your friends create a bloody trail of carnage as brutal Vikings, deadly knights and cold-blooded samurais. This is coming to Xbox One, PlayStation 4 and Windows. Another big title this year is Fortnite, where you lead a group of heroes to reclaim and rebuild a homeland that's been left empty by a mysterious darkness only known as the Storm. Band together online to build extravagant forts, find or build insane weapons and traps to protect your town from the strange monsters that emerge during that storm. And this is coming to Windows. Now, a game that's made the rounds at almost every convention I've been to for the last few years is Gang Beasts. It's a really daft local multiplayer party game. It's a brawler in a way, with surly gelatinous characters, brutal fight sequences, and absolutely absurd hazardous environments. It's on Windows only, and there's also going to be a VR version. Perhaps Microsoft's biggest release of the year, and the most important for their Christmas business, is Gears of War 4. Obviously, this is the well-known third-person shooter returning for its 4th installment. We have no idea about the plot, but you can bet that Marcus Phoenix and the gang are going to be kicking some serious butt. Xbox One exclusive, of course. Now, how about a game that allows you to reprogram the world around you to solve puzzles? Well, that's Glitch Space. Set in an abstract cyberspace world, you use visual programming to manipulate the environment's geometry, whilst discovering key programming concepts along the way. So, play a game, learn to code. Or at least learn the concepts behind coding. Coming to Windows. Very, very interested in this. Sort of game I'd like to get my son into. If you like your real-time strategy, Halo Wars 2 is back. Sequel to the original, same style of gameplay, using all those kind of Halo units from the big FPS games, this time in a real-time strategy format, coming to Xbox One and Windows. If you fancy yourself as a ninja, why not try Hellblade, which has ninja class melee gameplay, strong character stories and a unique art vision. And it's set in a twisted world with brutal, uncompromising combat. It's all about one-on-one, in-your-face combat. It's coming to PlayStation 4 and Windows. Next up is Hitman, which is the next in that series of games. They're stealth games, they revolve around Agent 47, who's a cloned assassin for hire and whose flawless record places him in high demand among the wealthy and elite. Now, interestingly, this is going to be released episodically, which is a change from the series. Be interesting to see how that does. It's coming to Xbox One, PlayStation 4 and Windows. Now, you don't get much more unique than this game idea, and that's Home Free. You play a dog lost in a randomly generated city, and you need to find food, a safe place to sleep, and friends, both human and canine. And hopefully, eventually, you'll find home, and that's available on PlayStation 4. Now, while Home Free might have given us a very unique gaming experience, Homefront: The Revolution is really trying to amp things up with first-person shooters. You're going to explore a living, breathing open world. As a first-person shooter experience, you're going to be waging guerrilla warfare. This isn't your standard, straightforward, linear, story-driven shooter. You're going to learn to ambush, infiltrate, and apply hit-and-run tactics to your foes in thrilling, unscripted firefights. And that's coming to Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and Windows. Now, fans of old school games will remember a big title called Homeworld. Now, that's got a sequel at last called Homeworld: Deserts of Karak. This time, it's a ground-based RTS, and it's actually a prequel rather than a sequel. You're going to assemble your fleet, lead them to victory on the shifting sands of Karak in this compelling strategy game, and it's coming to PC. Horizon Zero Dawn is a gorgeous looking game. This is going to be an action role-playing game where you control Aloy, a hunter and archer, as she progresses through this post-apocalyptic land which is ruled by mechanized creatures such as robotic dinosaurs. Now, I think you're going to be able to take these dinosaurs down and reuse their parts to do other stuff. It looks super cool, and as far as we know, just coming to PS4. Next on our list is Hyperlight Drifter. Now, Horizon Zero Dawn and this couldn't be further apart in terms of their visuals, but both of them look gorgeous for different reasons. Now, this is a 2D action RPG. It's reminiscent of the classic 8-bit and 16-bit games. This time, modernised mechanics and designs that are on a much grander scale. But trust me, the screenshots for this, as I said, vastly different but beautiful. It's coming to Xbox One, PlayStation 4, Windows and Mac. Now, one for the 3DS now. This is Hyrule Warriors Legends. Apparently, a complete port of the WiiU game, Hyrule Warriors, for the 3DS. Obviously, graphically, not quite as powerful, but you're going to still be able to cut down entire legions of enemies using over-the-top, powerful Dynasty Warriors style moves in what is effectively a hack-and-slash action game. You'll experience new story elements and playable characters from The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, such as Tetra, the King of Hyrule, and more. Now, fans of Limbo should be excited for this next game, Inside. It's a 2.5D platform game, so you've got a 3-dimensional world, but you're playing the game on the 2 dimensions. Trust me, it'll look great. Not much is known about the game though, but with Limbo as its heritage, it's sure to be great. And this is Xbox One, 360, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3, Windows and Mac, almost everything. Alright, Krautscape. Yes, you heard that right, Krautscape. Now I'm not sure what that name is supposed to mean or imply, but looking at it, you can tell it's an action-packed racing game with bird-like flying cars, and it's purely focused on competitive multiplayer gameplay. Now, you don't get a lot of games that have flying cars, but here's one. So hopefully this is going to bring something new and unique to the racing genre, and this is coming to Windows and Mac. Alright, so this game is Lawbreakers. It's a competitive first-person shooter focused on team-based action, and it can come from any angle. So there's going to be lots of jumping, guess wall running, possibly even flying and jetpack. I don't know what's going on, but it's all about rewarding skill, not streaks. So you got to nail people. Those headshots, I guess, are going to be important. And it's from the development leadership behind Gears of War. It's coming to Windows. Another big Toys to Life game, Lego Dimensions. We're not expecting a Lego Dimensions 2. You know, TT Games said that what we're going to get is the same starter pack year on year, but with new additions. Whether they'll hold to that, I don't know, but we've already had this year Ghostbusters, and we're about to get Namco Arcade later in the year, and I'm sure there will be more characters too. Maybe there'll be some Minecraft, maybe there'll be SpongeBob, maybe Turtles. There are many brands and characters that Lego Dimensions could call upon, and we're excited to see what they do in the future. Obviously available on Xbox One, 360, PS4, PS3 and Wii U. Now another Lego game, and there's a couple here, is Lego Marvel's Avengers. This is literally just out right about now. This game you don't need any toys for. You have a whole massive roster of Lego Marvel characters that you can unlock and play as in a new action-packed superhero adventure that's based around the Avengers films. So if you love Avengers, if you love Marvel superheroes and Lego games, this is right up your street. Xbox One, 360, PS4, PS3 and Windows. Now I don't know whether you noticed this game last year, but if you haven't, it's worth paying attention to. This is Lego Worlds. It's Lego's equivalent to Minecraft. If Minecraft was built with Lego blocks. It's a sandbox game in which you can craft your world, create, explore, unlock, and find all manner of things. It's very cool. It's still early days, but there are regular updates coming, available for Windows, and you should check it out. It's really cool. We got some videos of that on the channel too. Next up is Lethal Tactics. So this sounds like a very mature title, and it's a simultaneous turn-based tactics game. You're going to take control of a diverse squad of hired guns, plot your unit's strategic paths through dangerous and detailed maps, issuing orders in an effort to outthink, outmaneuver, and ultimately eliminate artificial intelligence or human opponents. What is going to set this game apart from other turn-based tactics games? We're not sure, but it looks like it could be something special. Now, if you like Japanese RPGs, keep an eye out for Liege, which is a dark fantasy told in a classic role-playing form with a modern tactical twist. It's coming to PlayStation 4, Wii U and Windows, which in itself is an interesting combination. No Xbox One there yet. Mafia 3 is also coming this year, which is an open-world third-person action adventure. It's set in 1968, which isn't a period we get to see a lot in video games, but the rules have changed. After years in Vietnam, Lincoln Clay knows the truth. family isn't who you're born with, it's who you die for. So this game is going to be plenty brutal. I mean, it's a mafia game. There's going to be, yeah, this is going to be one for the adults, I think. Xbox One, PlayStation 4, Windows and Mac. Next up is a big game. So Mass Effect returns with Mass Effect Andromeda, an action role-playing third-person shooter where players are able to play as either a male or female human character, and you'll be able to pilot the new Mako, a six-wheel buggy-type vehicle, and loads and loads of branching dialogue, exploration, combat. The Mass Effect games are beloved, and we're expecting huge things from this. So if you like your RPGs but with a more action orientated bent to them, I think check out Mass Effect. Now Matterfall is a bit of a different one. You're a hero fighting for survival on a ravaged sci-fi world that's been infected by a mysterious and deadly alien material. Now, using your agility and powerful weaponry, you must explore this new world and utilize your own control over this material called smart matter to uncover the mystery of this new threat and save the day, for it threatens the very existence of the human race. This is a PS4 exclusive, and not that much is known about it right now, but we have the makings of a brand new ongoing IP here with many sequels into the future, so fingers crossed for this. Back to the 3DS, and another big title, Metroid returns in Metroid Prime Federation Force. This is a co-op multiplayer action game which focuses on Federation Marines rather than Samus Aran, and the gameplay probably has more in focus with action and sports rather than the kind of exploration and platforming we had with the past Metroid games. So a little bit of a different experience for Metroid, but it's nice to see that kind of universe fleshed out with these different experiences. And hopefully for the Wii U or the NX, we're going to get a proper Metroid game at some point in the future. Now, I'm going to struggle to pronounce the name of this next game. This is Megacure, I think, or possibly Megacure. And this is a game where you navigate a four-dimensional world to perform miraculous feats and solve puzzles. Now, you might think, so that's the 3 dimensions and time. You'd be wrong. This is a very smart game, and I urge you to look for the trailers for this, and there's an explanation on what they mean by 4 dimensions on YouTube as well. So look at that. Looks very cool. PlayStation 4, Windows, Mac and Linux. Alright, do you love Mega Man? Because if you love Mega Man, you need to be picking up Mighty Number 9, which is made by the creators of Mega Man. Doesn't have the name, but boy does this look like a Mega Man game. 2D side-scrolling action, taking the best elements from those previous games that you know and love, transforming them with modern technology and fresh mechanics to give you something brand new. It's coming to Xbox One, PlayStation 4, Wii U, 3DS and Windows. Now, one of my personal favourite games from years gone by was Mirror's Edge, the parkour kind of first-person game that just gave you so much freedom. Now, it's back with Mirror's Edge Catalyst. Again, another action-adventure platform game where you control Faith Connors as she progresses around a futuristic city called Glass. Very excited for this, coming to Xbox One, PlayStation 4 and Windows. Now, this next screenshot is from Nier Automata. You control multiple characters in what is effectively an action RPG, but heavy on the action. It looks very cool, very stylish, and I think there's going to be a lot of interest in this game coming exclusively to PS4. However, I think I'm even more excited for Night in the Woods. The screenshot here doesn't do this game justice. You really should seek out a trailer. It's an adventure game with a kind of cute but slightly creepy animation style, focuses on story, exploration and character. There's dozens of characters to meet and loads to do in this lush, vibrant world. Talking about exploring though, if you like to explore galaxies, if you like to explore the whole universe, then No Man's Sky is the game for you, because that is the focus. It's exploration and survival in an infinite procedurally generated galaxy. You're going to be able to land on any planet you want. If you're the first person there, you can name it. They're all going to be different. Everybody is very excited for this PlayStation 4 exclusive, also coming to Windows. Now, many of you will remember a game called Myst, and if not, perhaps Riven. And Abduction is a brand new game in the same vein as those. A real-time, first-person adventure that really does harken back to those games. Abduction resurrects that feeling of suddenly finding yourself in the middle of a new world to explore, discover, solve, and become a part of. It's coming to Windows and Mac. Now, we love games with a unique visual style here at Family Gamer TV, and Overland is no exception. It's from the creators of Cannibalt, and it's a 3D survival tactics game where players guide an evolving cast of survivors on a road trip through a ruined continent. To survive the trip, you have to scavenge for fuel, weapons and other supplies to help keep moving and protect yourself from the strange, sound-sensitive creatures roaming the remains of North America. It sounds a bit like The Walking Dead, and that has me very excited. It's coming to Windows, Mac and Linux. If you like your multiplayer games, then maybe you'll love Overwatch, a team-based shooter where heroes do battle in a world of conflict. It features squad-based combat with 2 opposing teams of 6 players each, and players choose from one of several hero characters, each with their own unique abilities and role classes. And I've got to say, all of these characters have very cool, very unique designs, and I think if you like your multiplayer, this is going to be for you. Coming to Xbox One, PlayStation 4 and Windows. Now, supernatural games and horror-themed games are all the rage at the moment, and Oxenfree is hoping to cash in on that. It's about a group of friends who unwittingly open a ghostly rift, and you play Alex, and you've just brought your stepbrother Jonas to an overnight island party gone horribly wrong. It's coming to Xbox One, PlayStation 4, Windows and Mac, and it's all about the story and the narrative, so check that out. Paradise Never is an action RPG set on an island colony in France during the revolution of 2027. The colony's in turmoil as rebellion ferments, and you're working alongside a group of colonial rebels trying to overthrow your French rulers without getting yourself or your comrades killed. Now, visually, that description doesn't necessarily match what you're seeing on screen, but that I think is what makes it interesting. It has a kind of Minecraft look to it, so I'm very intrigued as to how those two things go together. It's coming to Windows, Mac and Linux. Fans of the theme park series of games and Roller Coaster Tycoon might be interested in Parkitect. So Parkitect is all about building a theme park. Business simulation game where you get involved in the construction and the management of your park, build the rides, manage the parks. Parks need planning, so you've got to put your business brain on and make the very best theme park that you can. Coming to Windows, Mac and Linux. Now, I know this game is high up many people's lists of most anticipated games. It's Persona 5, a role-playing game which players live out the year in the life of a high school student who gains the ability to summon facets of his psyche known as personas. So, set in a high school, supernatural elements, role-playing game. The previous games have gone down a storm, so I think this one's going to be big too. PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 3. Much like Parkitect, we've got another game about building and maintaining a theme park, and this is Planet Coaster. Another theme park simulation game with a living world where every guest is an individual and with their own personality and money in their pocket. You've got limitless freedom to build rides and scenery piece by piece and to blend them seamlessly with hand-sculpted terrain, including a connected global village where everyone can share their worlds. And it's coming to Windows. Now, you'll have seen recently we had a video on the site for Plants vs Zombies Garden Warfare 2. That's out this year. It's a hilarious action-packed shooter with fantastic character designs where you play as the plants or the zombies. We've got a new 24-player herbal assault mode. You can choose your side in 4-player co-op or solo play. Just have a blast. Multiplayer online, single-player offline, split screen, Xbox One, PlayStation 4 and Windows. Check out the video. It's a great game. Now, one of the few mobile games on our list here is Pokemon Go. Pokemon branching out at last from the Nintendo consoles to mobile, and with this you'll go hunting for Pokemon in the real world, augmented reality style, and when you find them you can capture them and use them in battles. You'll also team up with other players to head to various locations to take on bigger enemies and do bigger battles where you all use your Pokemon together. That's coming to iOS and Android. Staying with Pokemon, we've got Pokken, which is a Pokemon game, but more akin to Tekken, the fighting game. So you do one-on-one battles with Pokemon. You can use Pikachu against Lucario, whatever it is. This is kind of taking that little bit of Smash Brothers that you get with the Pokemon characters and focusing purely on that in a hardcore fighting game. Okay, this is my most anticipated game of the year. So all the other games on this list are great, but if you have to buy one and you've got an Xbox One, get Quantum Break. So it's a third-person action adventure where you fight your way through epic disasters that stutter backward and forward in time. It's complemented as well by a live-action series that is impacted by the gameplay, but I have seen this game in action and it is mind-blowing. You might think just a standard third-person shooter, but it's not. The time-based element of this makes it very, very unique. Please check it out. Alright, if you're a kid or if you're just a big kid, Ratchet & Clank is back. This is an action platform game series. It's a reimagining of the first game in the series, and it includes brand new gameplay elements as well as pulling other gameplay elements from other entries in the series. The Ratchet & Clank games are gorgeous, and there's a film out soon too, so jump on this. If you like, Skylanders, but you'd like a game like that without the physical toys to worry about, this is for you. A brand new IP coming exclusively to Xbox One is Recore. This is a gorgeous looking game from the small trailer we've seen. It's an action adventure game, and you play as one of the last remaining humans who has to forge friendships with courageous robot companions and who leads them on an epic adventure through a mysterious dynamic world. Something about this harkens back to Half-Life 2 and some of the characters in that game. I just have high hopes for this, really high hopes. From the wonderful looking Recore to the interesting looking return of Obra Dinn, very, very scaled back visuals. In this you play as an investigator with the power to go back in time, and early this morning, October the 14th, 1808, the Obra Dinn drifted into port with sails damaged and no visible queue. You have to get on the ship and uncover what's going on, what the mystery is here. And you can see this is very kind of unique visuals. You will not see another game like this, and for that reason you need to keep an eye on it. That's coming to Windows. Next up, a PlayStation 4 exclusive. This is Rime. It's an adventure game about a boy who must use his wits and ingenuity to survive and ultimately escape from a mysterious island and a terrible curse. Another beautiful game. The power of the new consoles is being really pushed to its limits to show some fantastic style in these brand new games, and Rime is no excuse. It's going to have some great puzzles and great visuals. Check it out. If you like your fighting games but you're sick of Pokemon, you're sick of Smash Brothers, you're sick of humans fighting each other, why not try Rising Thunder? This is going to be free to play for a start, and it's a robot fighting game, which means my son will love it. It uses very simplified controls in contrast to most 2D fighting games, but this one looks like it could be something special. Keep an eye on that. Do you like horror games? Do you like space? If you like both of those things, you should check out Routine, which is a first-person horror exploration game set on an abandoned moon base. It's coming to Windows, and I'd urge you to check out the trailer, which is pretty damn creepy. Has a kind of alien vibe to it. Next up is Salt and Sanctuary, and this is a stylistic, brutal action RPG platformer which is teeming with visceral, satisfying combat, deep, diverse character building, and some incredible bosses. It's coming to PS4 and Vita. No word yet on whether that'll be crossplay. Keep an eye out. Now, this next screenshot's really not going to tell you that much about Severed, which is a dungeon combat style adventure set in a fully stylized twisted reality. It's going to have touch mechanics and stars a one-armed warrior with a living sword. Another huge Toys to Life game, Skylanders. We haven't had the next game announced, but these games are yearly. We know Toys for Bob are working on the next one. It's a third-person, story-driven action-adventure game that features toys that you place on a portal that bring them into the game. It's available on Xbox One, 360, PlayStation 4, PS3 and WiiU. And we're just really intrigued what the gimmick's going to be this year, because there's always something new with Skylanders, and the character designs are so good. We're really looking forward to this one. Next up is a game that's been doing the rounds at expos for a while now. You can get it on early access, but it's not been released yet, and that's Speedrunners. And this is a cutthroat multiplayer running game that pits 4 players against each other, locally or online. You run, jump, swing around and use crazy weapons and pickups to knock your opponents off the screen. I've played this, it is nuts, so much fun. Seriously, keep an eye on Speedrunners. If you want to get in on it now, you can. But on release, if not, pick it up. It's a great game, great multiplayer game. Now, hopefully, this is also going to be a great multiplayer game, and that's Spy Party. Now, this has been in the works for a while. It's a tense, competitive spy game, which is set at a higher society party. And it's all about subtle behaviour, perception, and deception, rather than guns, car chases, and explosions. This isn't Bond. One player is the spy and you're trying to accomplish missions while blending into a crowd. The other player is a sniper and you got one bullet with which to find and terminate the spy, and you do it just by watching the party. You've got to try and work out who it is by how they act and what they do. Awesome idea, very excited. That's Spy Party on Windows. If you're a fan of the military, if you're a fan of military-based shooters, Squad is going to be up your street. It's 50 versus 50 multiplayer action, first person shooter, and it aims to really capture combat and real combat through communication and team play. Features vehicle based, combined arms, large scale environments, base building, integrated positional voice over IP for proximity talking and radio. That's going to be available on Windows. Next is Starcrawlers, which is a modern take on a classic RPG dungeon crawler. It's set in a gritty space punk universe. You build a crew of renegade adventurers on the fringe of space, take jobs from megacorps to hunt bounties, sabotage your rivals, and conduct corporate espionage. Coming to Windows. One of the few games coming to the WiiU this year is Star Fox Zero. This is a spaceship combat game where you use your TV's cinematic view to fly and identify targets and see through the eyes of Fox with the WiiU gamepad screen as you lock onto enemies and fire. You'll also have to use advanced flight techniques like boosting and barrel rolls to survive the relentless assault. Staying with the space theme, we've got Stellaris, in which you explore a vast galaxy full of wonder. It's from the makers of Crusader Kings and Europa Universalis, and this is an evolution of the grand strategy genre with space exploration at its core. And that's coming to Windows. Now for something completely different. Stephen's Sausage Roll. Yes, that is what this game is called, and it's a puzzle game featuring a sausage. I don't need to say any more than that. You've already bought a copy. It's for Windows. Okay, next up is Strafe. Now, this is described as a unique single-player 3D action experience where the player can pick up a gun and shoot hordes of things in the face. That's a bit of a Mickey take because Strafe is a take on those old-school FPS shooters. It looks straight out of the 90s. This one, think Quake, Quake 2, and those types of games. Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of fun to be had with Strafe, to be honest. Those visuals just harken back to childhood, and I'm definitely going to give this a go. Available on Windows. The granddaddy of all fighting games is back as well with Street Fighter V, and just another entry in the franchise. Phenomenal graphics, phenomenal gameplay. If you like fighting games, you got to be playing Street Fighter, and this is coming to PC and PS4. Now for something radically different on the graphics front at least, this is Sub Rosa, which is a multiplayer first-person shooter with tense deals, double crosses, and the occasional high-speed car chase. It's coming to Windows, And as you can see from the screenshot, either it's really early in development or it's gone for a very unique kind of simplistic blocky style. Now I don't know why, but this next game has me quite excited. This is Super Blood Hockey, which is a revival of those classic 8-bit era sports games with a dash of ultra-violence. Powered by a modern 2D physics engine, experience a retro pixel aesthetic in combination with fast-paced, violent hockey action featuring both single-player and multiplayer modes of gameplay. You know, if this can give me a kind of hockey experience that feels as accessible as something like Rocket League, I'd be all over that. That's coming to Windows. Next is Super Hot, which is a game which is trying something very, very unique. It is a first-person shooter, but the difference here is that time only moves when you move. So you can plan out how to get around bullet shots and all manner of actions to react to things kind of outside of time. It looks very cool with a very unique art style too, and that's coming to Xbox One, Windows, Mac and Linux. Now if you liked the game Gone Home, you should pay close attention to the developer's next game, Tacoma. This one though is set on a space station, and you're there to find out what is going on to the help, who aren't supposed to be seen, but who pass through the gilded areas that aren't actually for them. That's coming to Windows. Much like Street Fighter is back with its 5th incarnation, Tekken returns with its 7th incarnation, and again, this is just a fighting game, a proper fighting game for proper grown-ups. It's coming to PlayStation 4, so you can check that out later this year. Now, if you're not really into fantasy role-playing games or sci-fi role-playing games, how about an epic role-playing Viking saga? And that's the Banner Saga 2, where your strategic choices directly affect your personal journey. You'll make allies as you travel with your caravan across a stunning yet harsh landscape, and you'll carefully choose those who will help you fight a new threat that jeopardizes an entire civilization. The Banner Saga, the original, looks fantastic, and this one also gorgeous looking game with loads of choice there for you, coming to Xbox One, PlayStation 4, Vita, Windows, Mac, Linux, iOS and Android. Now if you've got the money to invest, how about The Climb? This is a virtual reality game that brings alive the excitement and thrill of rock climbing, and you're going to scale to the tallest cliff faces, explore stunning environments, all from the comfort of your own home. That's on Windows. Now, The Last Guardian is a game that was originally slated for the PlayStation 3, now coming to the PlayStation 4, and it's an unforgettable story of comradeship, trust, and extraordinary adventures in a strange, mystical land. Expect puzzle solving with a giant pet friend. This game has been most anticipated for so long now that people don't even think it's ever going to come out. This year might be the year. WiiU owners have one single thing that they are really looking forward to more than anything else, and that's the Legend of Zelda game for Wii U. It's been long promised, it looks fantastic, and it's the latest action-adventure game in that long-running series, but this time with even more freedom. If you like the role-playing action of Zelda, this game is looking beautiful. There's a rumour it may transition to the new Nintendo console, but hopefully Wii U owners will get to play this as well. Also, Wii U owners are going to get the Twilight Princess HD, that's the Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess from the Wii, ported over to the Wii U. Brand new textures, making that classic adventure look fantastic on Wii U. Hopefully that's not the only Zelda game you get though. Next up is The Long Dark, a thoughtful exploration survival experience that challenges solo players to think for themselves as they explore an expansive frozen wilderness in the aftermath of a geomagnetic disaster. There are no zombies, only you, the cold, and all the threats Mother Nature can muster. I'm thinking the film The Revenant done on Windows. I'm sure there's more to it than that, but just look at the screenshot. Snow, wolves, there's probably some bears in there too. Yeah, it's going to be a tough task to survive. The Tomorrow Children is a PlayStation 4 exclusive. It's an open world sandbox game where a disastrous experiment has melted humanity's consciousness into a dismal mass known as the Void, and only you, brave citizen, can journey into it and recover what's left to rebuild the human race. Currently in a closed beta, this game is highly anticipated. Looks fantastic, has this kind of communist vibe to it. I just really want to play this game. One of my most eagerly anticipated for this year. Alright, 3DS owners, keep your eye out for Treasureugnauts. This was slated a couple of years back, now coming in 2016. It's a classic 2D action platform game where the famous Treasureugnauts have been marooned on a perilous, uncharted island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, courtesy of Bad Pirate Pete. His terms for escape are simple: collect $1 million worth of treasure before he returns to the island and offer it as payment for passage back to the mainland. This looks perfect for the 3DS, a perfect mobile game, that classic 2D action. If you've got a 3DS, this one's got to be on your list. Now, fans of the classic kind of point and click adventure games have taken to Telltale's recent forays into The Walking Dead, Game of Thrones, Borderlands, and really embraced those games. They are fantastic storytelling games, and the next one, The Walking Dead Michonne, promises to be more of the same. Episodic, interactive adventure game based around the Walking Dead character Michonne, designed in the same style as the existing Walking Dead games. It's coming to Xbox One, PlayStation 4, Windows, Mac, iOS and Android. Now, if you like puzzle games and you own a PlayStation 4, you owe it to yourself to pick up a copy of The Witness. So this is the next game from the creator of Braid, which was a brain-bending puzzle game, and The Witness plans to take it to the next level. You're going to explore a uniquely immersive and isolated world filled with hundreds of carefully crafted puzzles. You'll peel away the secrets to uncover an even greater mystery that's lurking at the heart. The world is beautiful. It looks fantastic on PlayStation 4, and the puzzles will keep you scratching your head for ages. If you can solve them all, you're a genius, friend. Alright, next is This War of Mine, The Little Ones. Sequel to This War of Mine, The Little Ones puts you in charge of a group of adults and children stuck in the middle of hell, trying to survive in a besieged city. So not literal hell, but war-torn city, struggling with lack of food, medicine and constant danger. And the question really is, how far will you go to make it through another day? Now, the original game didn't feature children. This time it does, and you've got to look after them. And children are hard when you're not in a war-torn city. This War of Mine, The Little Ones makes it even tougher. Coming to Xbox One and PlayStation 4. The next game is a classic rhythm action game, and I've had hands on with this, and it is so immersive. You play it at breakneck speed with brutal physicality, and you're a space beetle of all things that's screaming towards an insane giant head from the future. Yes, it couldn't sound more bonkers, but it is so good. Once you're in the zone in this game, it's all you want to play. Coming to PlayStation 4 and Windows. Great soundtrack too. Alright, the next game is one of two Tom Clancy games that are coming out this year. This is Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands. It's an open world tactical shooter that's set in Bolivia. Players play as a member of the Ghosts, a fictional elite team in the United States Army. The game is set in the modern day, similar to the original Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon. If you're a military gaming fan, you like your strategy as well, this is going to be right up your street. It's coming to Xbox One, PlayStation 4 and Windows. However, the next Tom Clancy game might be even more anticipated. This is The Division, which is an open world role-playing experience. You play in a persistent, dynamic world with tactical decisions, role-playing action, trading and more. It's set after a devastating pandemic sweeps through New York City, and one by one all the basic services fail. In only days without food or water, society collapses into chaos. Now, the Division are an autonomous unit of tactical agents, and they've got to come in and sort things out because it is a mess out there. This is coming to Xbox One, PlayStation 4 and Windows, and it looks awesome. Visually, and gameplay wise look great. This is going to be in open beta I think soon as well. Well worth a look. And check out the high-res Windows screenshots as well. It's so photorealistic, it's crazy. So switching from pure photorealism to something a bit more game-like. This is Tooth and Tail, which is an arcade-style real-time strategy game set in a world of Animal Revolution. I'm sold on that last bit. Animal Revolution sounds awesome, bring it on. And that's coming to Windows, Mac and Linux. For those of you out there that like your tabletop battles, I'm talking Warhammer here, then you are going to be all over Total War Warhammer. So a turn-based strategy real-time tactical video game featuring gameplay of the Total War series married up with the Factions of Games Workshop's Warhammer series. This is the perfect marriage. If anybody was going to make a Warhammer game that reflected the tabletop game in the virtual space, then it had to be the guys behind the Total War series. Perfect combo on Windows, Mac and Linux. Now, you want a crazy racing game? You want Trackmania Turbo. This is going to offer you the ultimate arcade racing universe where everything is about reaching the perfect racing time. Test your skills in over 200 tracks, experience immediate fun by challenging your friends at home in offline split screen or with online multiplayer too. Coming to Xbox One, PlayStation 4 and Windows. Alright, next up, this is Uncharted: A Thief's End. So the Uncharted series, huge. You know, it's a riff on Indiana Jones. It's very story driven, action adventure from the third person. And of course, if you've played The Last of Us, that's made by the same people. Naughty Dog make great games. Now this one is the first one we can get properly on the PlayStation 4. It's set 3 years after the events of Uncharted 3. This time our hero Nathan Drake has left the world of fortune hunting behind. However, it doesn't take long for adventure to come calling when Drake's brother Sam resurfaces, seeking his help to save his own life and offering an adventure Drake can't resist. I think anyone who owns a PlayStation 4 has to be buying this game. It's as simple as that. Okay, moving from a real world story driven game to something a little bit more whimsical, and this is Unravel. And I am super excited for this. I think we all are at Family Gamer TV. So this introduces the character Yarny, who is made from a single thread of yarn. The game's inspired by environments of northern Scandinavia, and it's a physics-based puzzle platformer. Yarny is a representation of the ties that bind loved ones together, and with him you'll go on a grand adventure to reconnect the long-lost memories of family using the yarn that makes up Yarny to solve puzzles and progress through the game. So this is coming to Xbox One, PlayStation 4 and Windows, and really, this has got to be on your radar. Okay, next up, this is Vector. So we had Thumper, which is a kind of rhythm action game, and this one's a new kind of multiplayer music game, which is a fusion between gameplay, graphics and music that features exclusive song remixes from artists like Avicii to keep the game and its music interesting and unique. So if you like games with a really good soundtrack that bring that kind of fast-paced action, then this is going to be right up your street, and it's coming to PlayStation 4. Now, Way to the Woods is a game that couldn't be more different to almost everything on our list. It's a game about two deer in a strange, surreal world, and it's a third-person action-adventure. We don't know much more than that at this point, and the screenshot doesn't give an awful lot away, but it does look very atmospheric and very unique. If you like unique experiences, this one's for you. Now, a game I am personally very excited about is We Happy Few. Now, you can tell looking at the screenshot, it looks a bit bonkers, and this description, well, it's about as bonkers as it gets. So this is the tale of a plucky bunch of moderately terrible people trying to escape from a lifetime of cheerful denial. It's set in a drug-fueled, retro-futuristic city in an alternative 1960s England. You'll have to blend in with its other inhabitants who don't take kindly to people who don't abide by their not-so-normal rules. So this is coming to Xbox One, Windows, Mac and Linux, and it's got Britishness coming out of its pores, that bonkers kind of, I don't know, that quirkiness of British kind of sensibilities and humour and everything. It just looks perfect. I want this game right now. Now, What Remains of Edith Finch is a collection of short stories about a cursed family in Washington State. So if you like the kind of creepy mysteries in games, then this is going to be for you. Each story is going to offer a chance to experience the life of a different family member, with stories ranging from the early 1900s all the way up to present day. The gameplay and tone of the stories are as varied as the family members themselves. Sounds really, really interesting, and coming to PlayStation 4 later this year. Now, we've had a variety of survival related games in this list, and Wild is another one. In this one, you're going to be using your instincts and intuition to thrive in an incredibly hostile environment. Learn how to control living creatures, venture into your friends' games' worlds to help them survive, experiment with your surroundings in your quest for survival. Even a simple plant could just as easily save your life or bring about swift death. So you've got to be really careful out there. And the idea of being able to move into your friends' game worlds and help them, that kind of thing, sounds really fun, and this is coming to PlayStation 4. Turn-based tactical games don't come much more highly respected than the XCOM series of games. The original remake of XCOM, which was out a couple of years back, got stellar reviews, and now we're going to get XCOM 2. So as we said, it's all about turn-based tactics. You're going to command that eponymous military organisation that's now a resistance force opposing the ongoing alien occupation of the planet. It's up to you to save the world, and it's coming to Windows, Mac and Linux. Now, earlier on this list we had Mafia 3, so if you like that game, you might also be interested in this one, Yakuza 6. So this is an open world action adventure game based around the infamous Japanese mob. So if one Mafia wasn't enough for you, there's another one coming too, and that's for PlayStation 4. Now, last but not least is a game that comes from the creators of Banjo-Kazooie and the Donkey Kong Country games. This is Yooka-Laylee, and it's an all-new 3D platformer coming to Xbox One, PlayStation 4, Wii U, Windows, Mac and Linux. And if you're a fan of those original games, Banjo-Kazooie and Donkey Kong, some of the greatest platform games out there, I think Yooka-Laylee has to be on your radar. So that completes our massive list of 2016 games that we think you absolutely need to keep your eye on. There's a lot of games coming out this year. Now, no doubt, quite a few of those games are going to get pushed back into 2017. But there's loads of games coming this year. So there's going to be something for you out there. So check out those games. And of course, please leave us a comment, because we would love to know what your most anticipated games are this year. Is it a game we've listed? Is it something else entirely that we've completely ignored or forgotten about? Let us know in the comments, and of course hit that subscribe button, because we got more great stuff coming for you here at Family Gamer TV.